Yeah. So, I think this is the full versus pausal form is very easy without like it doesn't need much explanation, and no one is going to punish you if you don't stick to it very precisely. After all, no one actually does speak MSA in real life. Uh, but for the sake of this class, we're going to kind of follow the convention that if you find a sukun after a word, you're going to use the pausal form. And if you find any haraka at the end of a sentence, even if you're going to end your speech, we're going to still use the full form because I want you to be familiar with the case declensions of word or the i'rab of the kalimat. So now we'll jump straight into lesson 6. So lesson 6, we're going to learn about three things, but they are three heavy things. So I hope you've gathered some stamina for today. The first one is a very easy consonant, which is the as in hello, hat. And then there's the next one, which is another sound that has no equivalent in English, which is the ha. Ha. Ha is more of like a whispery sound. It's like it's a very pharyngeal sound that comes from your throat. It has no equivalent, but the closest I would approximate it to loud whispering, basically. It's like, hey, hello. And then we're going to discuss the main bulk of this class, which is the hamza in the middle and the end of the words on and the different aspects on the different ways we're going to write them. The sometimes the easy rules to learn, but they are usually easily forgotten. And if you feel overwhelmed, I would like to assure you that even I sometimes forget these rules, and I find myself googling them just to refresh and remember the exact rules. So let's jump to the first letter, which is the letter ha or ha. Of course, the Arabic name of this letter is ha. The Arabic ha is like the English H in hot or hat or heat. It's a voiceless glottal fricative. So, again, we're going to do kind of define these words because they are phonetic gibberish or phonetic jargon. Voiceless, as we remember, is it does not produce any vibration in your throat when you put your fingers on your bony structure in the middle of your neck and try to do ha. There is no vibration whatsoever. Glottal, glottal. That means it comes from the glottis. I hope I have the picture of yeah. It comes from the glottis. It comes from here. So basically, your vocal cords are wide open and they allow all the air out without any vibration. So it's ha. Oops. So, and what does fricative mean? Fricative, that means that there is some sort of friction to produce that consonantal quality, which is the ha. There is minimal friction, but there is friction. The definition is pretty straightforward. The letter is probably available in English and it's not that hard to produce. So we're going to jump right away into how to write it. Again, the how are you as we're used to, the letter ha is also a connector. The non-connected letters in Arabic are few, but the majority are connectors. And we are used to this paradigm, I guess, by now, as in we know that the letter can happen independently, can happen joined to a previous letter, or joined to a following letter, or joined on both sides. But ha, in my opinion, is one of those letters that display the most variation when it comes to writing, as every shape is different, unlike jim. Jim, for example, has some sort of approximate, like resemblance to the original shape. But ha, let's zoom in and see how ha is written. So if independently, ha is basically a circle. You can write it as a circle. Like this is a very artistic kind of way of doing it, but a circle is completely acceptable. So if I'm going to pronounce this, so there's hamza with a fatha, so it's a, and the ba has nothing, but it has a waw after it, so I know that it's a long vowel ba. So it's abu, and the ha here or the ha has a dhamma, so abuhu. أبوه هو أبوه أبوه his father. Again, when we say when we see the join by previous letter, we see that it showed a lot of different variation. Now, how you can write it is very simple. Is basically I'm writing the word at the end, basically, or and I would write it like this. So basically, it's just like you can write it as this. It's completely acceptable, at least in my opinion. You can be as artistic as you want, but basically, this is the very basic, simple. It's like a tiny little flag. You'd write it, and it's completely acceptable. Some other fonts or variations can occur. So let's read this one. So it's the dal has a fatha, so it's da. The re has sukun, so it's dar, dar. The sin has a dhamma, so it's darsu, darsu. And the he has a dhamma, so it's darsuhu, darsuhu, his class or his lesson. Now, when the ha is initial, or basically followed by something, or it shows the most variation, and it's one of the most weird letters, weird letter shapes. But how I write it usually is just I start with like this and this. So it's basically just a big circle, and so I would start from up, down, and continue. It's completely valid to write it like this. You can make it more less rounded than this. Completely fine. You can write it like that. Um, let's read this one. Like if you want to practice writing it later on, I can just do something, as in you start like this, you go like this, you do like this, and then do a circle and continue. Uh, yes. So how I would produce this is I would pronounce this is the ha has a dhamma, so it's hu, and the noon has nothing, but there's an alif after it, so it's huna, huna. Uh, the ha and ha, that's why I included them in this lesson, Maya, because they come from the same area, but one has more friction than the ha. The ha is more fricative. That's why I put them in this class together in this section. Uh, Now let's jump to the one where it's joined on both sides. So basically, there's something after it and something behind it. Now this is why I wrote there is the writing convention of ha. Now you can write this in multiple ways. There are people who would write it like this. Basically, it's a number 8 technically, but it's not a complete number 8. You would find other books, or especially in Khatt al-Ruqa or the Ruqa script, where people would write it like this. So the word nahr here can be written like this. Can be nahr, like an 8, or can be nahr. Both are completely valid, and you might actually see them in handwriting. Very common variations. Actually, in extreme cases, I actually seen people write it like this. Sorry, I made the noon very big. But you'd find it like this. So all three are acceptable and readable and legible, completely fine. So find which one you find easier to write and stick with it, and it's completely acceptable. So let's just read this. So it's noon with a fatha, so it's na. The he has a sukun, so it's nah, nah, nah. The ra has a dhamma, tanween, so this is another tanween, so it's nahrun, nahrun, river. Basically, remember when we have tanween, that means the word is indefinite, so it's a river. Okay? So the ha so far is easy, I guess. There are no questions about its sound quality or its writing convention. So we start reading. Okay. Anyone feels like they want to start reading the table? Okay, Esma. Yes, perfect. You are coming on stage. We're gonna read row A. Yes, أسماء تفضلي. هنا perfect. هناك. هو. هي نهار. ممتاز. Thank you very much, Asma. Anyone else wants to try row B? Tweety. Okay, let's go. I've invited you on stage, Tweety, so please feel free. Mm-hmm. Tweety, you can accept the invite to stage. Okay. Yes. We're still discussing the letter ha, Luna, so it's okay. You're still safe. Okay. So meanwhile, until Tweety gets on stage, anyone else wants to take C? Because Tweety is going to discuss B. Okay, Maya. Yes, Maya. شهر. نعم. شهر. Can you say it again, please? نهر. Okay, this one is a very common word, and I would love if you learn it. أهلا. أه أه أهلا. This one is a long one. شهادته. ممتاز. مكتبه. Perfect. مكتبه. ممتاز. شكرا جزيلا مايا. Okay, Tweety, you were promised row B. Would you please read number 1? Tweety. Can you say it again, please? مديره. مديره. Perfect. This one, take your time. مشهور. مشهورا. ممتاز. Perfect. Yes. مشاهير. There's a long vowel كسرة here. مشاهير. مشاهير. Perfect. Okay, now this one is a bit tricky because the ha has a shadda. How do you attempt it? تمهل. ممتاز. Actually, that's very impressive. كسرة on the calf. كتابه. ممتاز. Actually, that's very, very impressive. Thank you very much, Tweety. Okay. We've done C. So anyone wants to take row D? Row D. It's a simple one. Doesn't have any shaddas. There's on the meme, but not on the ha. For people, actually, just I want to read the word, this word again because the shadda on the ha, and I want to like show how it's pronounced. Ha is still a consonant. It can be doubled. So ta fatha, mim fatha, and the ha has shadda fatha, so it's tamahala, tamah, tamahal, tamahal, tamahal. This is basically is an imperative or like a command that means to slow down. You're telling someone to slow down. You know, you're ordering someone or you're telling someone to slow down, please. So tamahal. And of course, the word I advise everyone to start learning, make this your first word in Arabic, is ahlan, means welcome. And literally, it means of family. As when you greet someone into your home and you say ahlan, as like basically you're telling them you're now of family, come in. So, anyone wants to take D, the row D? Yeah, Rosie, let's go. Or Rose. Okay. I've sent you an invite, yes. Mm-hmm. Ahlan. Hi. So, again. هام ممتاز perfect. فيه ممتاز. هم ممتاز. سهل. مهم. له perfect perfect very good. Thank you very much, Rose. Okay. I judging by the performance today, I think the letter ha is completely like we completely overcome the ha. So now we're gonna jump to the difficult brother, the more problematic one, the letter ha. So, uh, uh, I want to keep the letter ha in our heads, in our throats for a while, because it shares a lot of features with ha, and ha also shares some features with ha. But let's read about letter ha in more detail. So it says that the letter ha does not exist in English, that we understood. It is a voiceless pharyngeal fricative. Okay, so the voiceless, I think by this at this point we're completely we completely understand what voiceless means. Is that this letter does not produce, or this sound does not produce any vibration in your voice box. Pharyngeal. Pharyngeal, it comes from the word pharynx, which is your basically your throat. And if we look at this image, you'd see the pharynx is usually here. This green area is called oldopharynx. It's basically the tunnel that your food just drops in. It's the chute where your food or the food you eat is just it goes in. This is called the pharynx, and to this point where the epiglottis, which is basically the valve that closes down to prevent food from coming into or going into your windpipe, we start calling it the laryngeal part, and where the esophagus happens, or where the tube to your stomach happens. Anyway, so we said that it's a voiceless, so no vocal cord vibration, and it's pharyngeal. It comes from the pharynx, the same place where h happens. If you say h, h, you notice that it's not in your voice box. It's a little bit up. H, h, and this is we call a pharyngeal. So the thing is, even in the letter ha, when we described it, it's a glottal. It's a bit down here. So the pharyngeal fricative, it is produced at the base of the tongue, with the base of the tongue near the back of the pharynx, the throat, and the throat muscles are strongly constricted. Okay, now we have three elements we have to discuss. One is the back of the tongue and the pharynx have to get back to almost contact to produce the friction of air that passes through. But now there's a problem. If you do that without constricting the muscles of your pharynx, like without the muscle, without basically squeezing here, you are going to whisper. But ha is more of a harsh whisper, and the harshness comes from the constriction of muscles. So ha, 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 your muscles are kind of squeezed. So now, how are we going to kind of do this? It's produced from the same area as the letter ha, albeit with greater force. So it's the ha, but it's like you have to squeeze your throat more. Okay, you know what I mean by squeeze? You know when you eat when you eat some sort of fruits that feel like it made your mouth dry? You know the same feeling like some sort of, if I don't know if you had dates that were not ripe, they were like yellow dates, and they have that very astringent quality to them, and how they turn your mouth into very like it feels like it's dry. Your mouth feels like sandpaper. That feeling in your throat is how we feel when it's constricted. Or plums, yes. Or like something that acidic, or something that's or pineapples. If you eat pineapples a lot, you start feeling like your throat hurts and it kind of feels swollen and constricted. So this is what I mean by this is what I mean by force. It differs in that the tongue is strongly tensed. You try to tense your tongue, so kind of like the tongue and your whole throat is tensed when you produce ha, ha, ha. While ha, your tongue is very relaxed. Try to kind of tense your tongue and push it back as far as you could, like back in your mouth, and try to whisper. You might get closer to the ha, but it needs a lot of practice. Um, of course, the ha is also a consonant and can occur in any position of the word and can be doubled. Now, one suggestion I have for you is basically try to whisper "Hey you," but try to whisper it loudly with a lot of force. As in, instead of speaking quietly to whisper, no, whisper but loudly. It's like "Hey you, hey you, hey you, hey, hey you." Like, you notice that the air is kind of causing friction in your throat, and if you squeeze more, that friction is going to increase and you're getting to the letter ha. Ha. Another suggestion I have for letter ha is basically try to clear your throat. Yes, it's when you kind of exactly, Rose, when you try to go on in the mirror and try to kind of make steam on the window when it's cold outside. What you go in front of and say, and you go in front of that window and say, why do you do that? Why do you say instead of instead of normally breathing? Because that friction of air makes the air come in contact with your throat, which warms it up. Hence, leading to the steam formation, because the air that touches the glass is warmer than the glass itself, so steam forms. The vapor in your breath condenses. Uh, so try to like kind of either you're clearing your throat is like, or try to make the noise when you kind of try to blow steam or try to blow your breath on a window to make it like a heart. Or try to say or whisper, "Hey, you," loudly. These always, basically, all these techniques kind of try to squeeze your throat muscles. And with practice, you might have more control over the throat muscles themselves and leading you to produce an actual ha sound, a forceful ha sound. Exactly. Exactly. Like, when you go to McDonald's and drink that really refreshing Sprite, and it's like, ah, that's exactly the sound ha. But the problem is with this is basically you do these involuntarily, some sort, with no control. But the letter hat requires you to have control over those muscles so you can produce it at will. I think the letter hat is the idea of letter hat is kind of explained, but we're going to hear it a lot, and a lot of you are going to read it. But one last difference or one last comparison is between the letter ha and kha. The letter ha and kha, uh, there is no contact whatsoever between the base of the tongue and the velum. Remember yesterday when we discussed kha, we said the kha, basically the back of your tongue touches the velum here, and it basically causes that friction that produces the letter kha. But in the letter ha, nothing is velarized. The letter ha is not a velarized sound, so the fatha is pronounced normally. It's not o, it's ha adi. It's like ha, har. It's not like sod, dad, or ta, or qa. No, because the letter ha is pharyngeal. It's not velar. So all the vowel shift does not happen. Um, so uh, we would listen to the kha and ha, or the ha and ha as well. Like, I'm gonna replace the letters here with both ha and kha to just feel for the quality of the letter. So khal, khal. Notice khal, and I would write it hal, hal, and hal, hal, hal. Kham, ham, and ham, ham. Of course, at this point, I'm not saying that there is a long vowel. At this point, I hope that all of you know that there is a ha with no tanween, with no haraka, but there's an alif, so there's a long vowel fatha. Hal. Same thing here. Kaf, halil, halil. There's lam has a ya after it, so it's a long vowel kasra, so it's halil, halil. And let's say half and halil. Khalla, khalla, and halla. and حل حل. سخر سخر. سهر سهر and سحر سحر. رخيم رخيم, long vowel كسرة because there's a رخيم رحيم رحيم, merciful. نفخ نفح نفخ نفح. Okay, any questions so far before we jump to writing and reading? Any questions? No questions. Okay. So, oh, sorry, no questions. So we'll jump to writing and reading. The letter ha, as we say there, it's a connector, like the jim and kha, but the only difference, it's basically there's no dot. It's dotless. And it has the same exact writing forms. Basically, it's a belly, a hat, and a belly. So, and it follows the same paradigm of for. So it can be independent. It can be followed by a previous. It followed by joined by a following, or joined on both sides. And we would again read and see how it's written. So sabah, basically, you would write it like this. Simple. You can do this. No need for fancy stuff like how the script does it. So let's read this. The sad has a fatha. The ba has a long vowel fatha, so it's sabah. And the ha has tanween dhamma. You know, this is tanween, by the way. So it's sabahun, sabahun, morning. The final ha, or joined by a previous letter, is basically this one. As I said yesterday, has this fancy way of just doing like this. I don't write it like that. I just write it like, oops, sorry. And you can just connect it. It's completely fine, acceptable. So this word is fataha, fataha, opened. He opened. The initial ha, as I said, it kind of gets rid of the belly, and it retains the head. So it's ha or ha, both work. So this one is halun, halun, and the join on both sides is basically, the hat just gets joined, so it's muthafun, muthafun, mim dhamma, ta sukun, sakin, or has a sukun basically, so it's ha, muthafun, muthafun, museum, a museum. Anyways, anyone wants to start reading? Anyone wants to take row A? I know it's a difficult sound, but you can attempt reading it. Does Maya? I don't understand. What does ha and ha when using kasra? It's like ha with kasra. It's in the examples. We're going to hear it. It's hey, hey, hey. So anyone was raised hand? So Maya, yes. Let's go. So number or row A. Hamdu. Alhamdu. Yes. Marhaban. No. Again. Sahl. Sahal. Sahha. Sahla. Sahla. Like you can, like, if you can just read letter by letter, it's completely fine. Sahla. Sah. There's sin with fatha. There's ha with sukun, and lam with fatha. So it's sahla. Sahla. سحلة. Okay, next one. حديث. There's a long vowel كسرة here because of the ياء. حديث. ممتاز, Maya. Thank you very much. And Maya, like in the next example, like kasra with ha, I would pronounce it hi. Like here, it's wahid, wahidun, wahi, wahidun, and here it's a long vowel kasra, so it's sahih, sahih, sahihun. Anyone wants to give B a try? Give row B. Rose, yes, please. Okay, Rose, you're going to take B, and Asma is you're going to take C. Mm-hmm. Yes, Rose. تفضلي. حصولي. حصول. Uh-huh. Okay. سماح. Yes, perfect. حضر. ممتاز. Oh, actually, that's impressive. You actually pronounced the ض. You didn't take ض yet. Okay. بحث. ممتاز. بحث. ممتاز. Thank you very much, Rose. Asma? Yes. Maya, do they sound the same when we speak? No, they're different consonants. It's he and he. He and he. He. من بيته. وحي. Okay, Asma, I'm sorry, but we take C? صحيح. Yes, perfect. مرح. Yes. عمل. قبيحا. ممتاز. رحيمة. رحيمة. Yes. Thank you very much, Asma. Okay. Anyone wants to be a champion and take and read row number D? Okay, I'll do it then. So number D is ميم فتحة, راء سكون, ha. There's no vowel on the ha, but there's a waw, so I know there is a dhamma, long vowel dhamma. So it's, and the meme has kasra, has sukun because there's nothing. So I would say marhum, marhum, marhum. Marhum is basically he who is been granted mercy, and we usually uh, yeah. Usually we use it for deceased people. We call deceased people marhum, and marhum mutwaffa, or the marhum has died or passed away. Um, this one is the waw has nothing. So this waw is not a vowel. This waw is a consonant, and it has a fatha, long vowel fatha. So it's wahi, wahidun, 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 a single, basically, a single of something. Is it harder? Is it slightly harder to pronounce the ha والضمة on it? I found فتحة كسرة. Okay. Yes, I do think so. It's hu, hu, hu. To me, it's not a struggle, but maybe for learners it is. But you can build up to it. It's if you can manage to produce the ha sound, your next objective is to try to put all the vowels on it. I think the fatha and the kasra because they're closer to the pharynx than the dhamma, so just it's kind of it's easier to kind of mix those two sounds together, like ha and he, instead of hu, because the dhamma is more frontal. Next word is mu, meme, meme with dhamma, ha with fatha, and the meme here has a shadda fatha and dal tanween dhamma, so it's muhammadun, muhammadun, محمد. Uh, this one comes from of course, the root hamada, to thank or to show gratefulness. And this one is the active participle, is the one who does the thanking or showing of gratitude. So it's hamid, hamidu. Like we can say hamidu rabbihi, is like he who thanks his God. This one is ra fatha, he or ha, with a long vowel kasra because of the ya, and the meme tanween dhamma. So it's rahimun, 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 merciful, rahmanur rahim. So I do believe that the letter ha, we kind of covered it. Is there any form of any ambiguity or questions around letter ha before we jump? You can type in questions, or if you want to ask a question in voice, you can raise your hand. Okay. No one is basically okay. No questions, I guess. As always, the recording of this class, minus of course your voices, just my voice, will be available like probably 5 hours after the class. So make sure you check the forum thread. The yesterday class is already up. Plus the PDF file is going also to be uploaded and put in the same forum, in the same thread. So you have nothing to worry about. And even if by a next or a future lesson or a watch of the videos you figure out new questions, you can always feel free to answer me, or to ask me, sorry. Now this is the main part of the class. This is where the hamza happens in the middle and the end of the words. This is I don't want to kind of uh frighten you, but it might be heavy, it might be a bit overwhelming. And if you feel that you're starting to lose it, you can just write in discussions, and maybe we can have like an own specific class on the Hamza in the middle of the week if my work allows, and we can arrange it. But for now, let's just go with the pace that I kind of found like we could manage through it. We could chug through it. So, in the previous lesson, we have learned that Hamza can occur as the first sound of a word. As in, Ahmad, uh, Ahmad Akbar, Asghar. All these are basically Hamza at the beginning of words, and they always take the alif as a seat. If it's fatha or it's dhamma, and if it's kasra, the alif is basically under. Sorry, the Hamza is under the alif. And now we're going to learn that alif can also occur in the middle and in the end of the word. After all, it's a full-fledged consonant. It's a normal consonantal sound in Arabic. It also inherits all the properties of other consonants, but we don't consider it a letter in terms of orthography, in terms of writing. That's why Arabic has 28 instead of 29, because of the deficiencies we're going to see. Hamza behaves very erratically when it comes in the middle of the word because it has a lot of weird seats, and of course, the weirdness for the person who do not know the rules, they will find them very arbitrary. But once we look at the rules, we can find how sensical they can be. But why do we have this issue with the hamza in the middle of the word? Because remember, a few years, not few, but I mean like a couple of 100 years ago, Arabic had nothing like harakat. So we could not know if you were learning Arabic back then. Most likely, you were going to learn it through oral tradition. So through speaking, more than writing or reading. So back then there were no harakat, so no one reading could figure out what is the hamza supposed to be pronounced. But putting them on different seats, it could give you clues on the vowels, either the vowel of the hamza itself or the vowels or the adjacent vowels. So this is like the rationale of why we have this weirdness with hamza. Okay, so again, we emphasize that the hamza is a glottal stop and it's basically a consonant that can be double, as we've seen back then, as in sa'ala, sa'ala, sa'ala. In contrast to sa'ala. Sa'ala and sa'ala. Sa'ala is he made something or someone ask. And sa'ala is he asked. Basically, it's the causative. Anyways, now yesterday Luna had this question. It's like, okay, what about the seats? How do I pronounce them? And I actually had to add this in the presentation just to make it clear. There's one rule about the Hamza, and it's seats. In reading Hamza, sorry, it's the cardinal rule of reading Hamza. If there is a seat, ignore it. It's a seat. It's basically just a chair. It has no function but a chair. No phonetic function, no way to pronounce it. It's just there to indicate something. No, it's the same way as the alif after tanween, fatha. It's just there to tell you there's tanween alif fatha. It is not to be pronounced. And it's not a long vowel per se. It's just an orthographic convention, a way to kind of tell you something about the word. And again, all this can be traced back to the times where Arabic had no voweling and basically no dots or whatever. The difficulty was a lot harder than now. You should all be thankful. So the seats are basically our three famous letters that we consider them vowels or indicators of vowels. It's the alif, it's the waw, and it's the ya, or basically what we call this as the alif maqsura. Uh, of course, the ya on itself, like you can put it a dot under a dot, or you can. This can be also an alif, and we call it alif maqsura, and we will get to talk about it in detail. But like I want you to keep in mind that at the end of words, alif can also occur looking like this. Why? It's a huge topic. And unfortunately, this topic involves a lot of knowing about grammar roots, verb roots, and the original, basically the original root of the verb. But for now, for our level, just know that the alif can also occur as this, looking like a ya without a dot, and we call them alif maqsura. So the seats, as we said, it's either alif, ya looking thing, or waw. And the hamza can be placed on them as follows. So it's basically could be like this on it, could be on the waw, it could be on the alif itself, as we've learned, and this ya looking thing can be in the middle and can be a seat. It's like, you remember when we were writing the ya, we said that it has these following forms. There's a standalone, there's the initial, and there's in the join from both ends. So, like this, and you put two dots, that's the ya. If you remove two dots and put a hamza, it could be a seat for it. Of course, the seat is not pronounced, but it's only an orthographic convention in the spelling of words with hamza, as we said. I added this one here part, so it'd be like its own kind of thing. You would remember, like if there's a seat, ignore it. It has no sound. You don't have to pronounce it, and there is no way to pronounce it anyways. You are pronouncing the hamza that is seated upon it. So let's look at the hamza, looking at like occurring or happening in the middle of a word. Now, I want you to kind of be very observant, and I want you to look at the vowel of the hamza and the vowel of the letter before it. So because that will just kind of pave the way for you for next part. Now let's start from here. How I'm going to read this. The f has a fatha and the hamza has a sukun. So it's fa, fa, fa. The sin has tanween dhamma, so it's fa'sun, fa'sun, an axe. Okay, fa'sun, fa'sun, fa'sun. Notice that there might be a little bit of resemblance here. Okay, there's a fatha and there's an alif. Okay, I'm just trying to, to throw you hints here. Okay, maybe the hint will be more clear. There is lam dhamma and there is hamza with sukun. So it's lo, lo, lo. Basically, it's the same syllable doubled. So it's lo, 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 lo. It's basically pearls. Like it's a collective noun. It's just basically like fish. It means a lot of fish, but it's just singular technically. So here there is dal fatha, and there's hamza fatha on the alif, of course, and there's ba fatha. So it's da'aba, da'a, da'aba, da'aba, da'aba. And I hope you're noticing a pattern here. So sa fatha, sa, the of course, I don't want you to think this is a long vowel. This is not a long vowel. This is just a seat of the hamza. It's not a long vowel. It's not sa. No, it's sa'ala. 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 It's not sa'ala. It's sa'ala. Sa'ala. Because sa'ala would be written like this. Oops. And we will get to know why later in a bit. This is sa'ala, but this is sa'ala. Sa'ala. So I hope the pattern is getting more and more obvious. Now let's look here. This re has dhamma, right? And this waw has a sukun. Has a hamza on the waw, and the hamza has sukun. So it's ru, 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 ru'sun, ru'sun, ru'sun. Okay, we'll jump again. The re has a fatha, but the hamza here has a kasra. And in Arabic, I'm going to digress here. I'm going to explain something that relates here. In Arabic, we Arabic grammarians kind of classified or gave vowels a form of strength. And they said that the strongest is kasra. And the next strong is dhamma. And the next strong is fatha. Or the least strong is fatha. Right? Okay, I might want to kind of move this away. Here. Okay. And of course, sukun has no strength whatsoever because it's basically no vowel. It cannot compete in this race. You know, kasra. I wrote a kasra in Arabic, but let me write it in English. So the strongest one is kasra, followed by dhamma, and followed lastly by fatha. So fatha is the weakest, and it shows because it's a, u, and e in terms of phonetic like strength or force. You're putting a lot of force to produce the e more than a. Okay, so let's look here. So this is ra, and ra has fatha, but the hamza has kasra. According to the scale, who is stronger? Stronger is the kasra. So technically, the hamza took the seat of the letter that resembles the kasra, which is the ya. So it's ra'is, ra'is. And this kasra here is basically an indicator for the long vowel. This is the long vowel indicator. So it's ra'is, ra'is. I know this is a bit confusing, but it will clear up in a second. So this one is the ba has kasra. So it's bi, bi. And the hamza has sukun. So it's bi, bi, bi. And the re has tanween dhamma. So it's bi'run, bi'run. And maybe what confused you here is the homogeneous. So kasra, as we remember, is presented, or the long vowel kasra is represented by ya. So we call this the homogeneous vowel, the homogeneous letter. Dhamma is usually represented by waw, and fatha is usually represented by alif. Because, you know, consonantally they kind of produce the same sound, except alif. Alif doesn't have a sound. So now if we see the kasra, sukun has no power, but there's a ba has a kasra, so it gives that power to the seat. The seat is chosen according to the vowel of the ba. And ba is kasra, and what is the appropriate letter for kasra is the ya. So it took the seat of ya. It did not take alif, did not take waw. Because if it was dhamma here, it would be written like this. Bur, bur, bur. And now, why I'm telling you that if we remove the vowels here, You can tell the vowel of the ba based on the seat of the hamza. You would know, it's like, oh, it was written on a waw, that means there's a dhamma here. So you would pronounce it bu'r, bu'r, not bir or ba'r. Is this clear? Like, is this point clear? Can someone like assure me in discussion? Is there anything like, are the gears still running? Everything clear. Okay, wow. Okay, that's pretty promising. Okay, so we jump to the next one is na, fatha on the noon, and again the hamza has a fatha, so it's na'a, 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 na'ab, na'ab, na'ab. Of course, some of these words do not have meaning. I just chose them to kind of show you the few kind of quirks when it comes to hamza. So let's go here. Okay, this one is tough because it involves a lot of concepts we've learned previously. So the re has dhamma. Okay, so it's ru, ru, ru. But here the dhamma has nothing, but it's followed by a waw. So this hamza has a long vowel dhamma. How would I pronounce it? Ru'u, 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 ru'usu, ru'usu. These are heads, basically. It means heads. And here, is this one clear? Because this one contains two things. The seat of the hamza, and the hamza itself has a dhamma that is a long vowel indicated by the following waw. So it's ru'us, ru'us, ru'us. Okay, let's take an example. Let's say, what if this vowel didn't exist, like the long dhamma, and it was like this? And we just did that up there. So ru's, 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 ru's. But ru'us, because of the dhamma, the long vowel dhamma on the hamza. Here, it's the same concept as ru's. It's the b has dhamma, so it's bu. The sukun on the hamza makes it out of the race. It has no strength, no power. So it chooses to sit on the seat that is appropriate to the dhamma, which is the waw. It's bu'sun, bu'sun, misery, basically. This one is good because it's shadda. So ta has fatha, so it's ta, ta. The re has fatha. The hamza has fatha. They're both equal in strength, right? Both fathas are equal. So it takes the alif because the alif is like the most appropriate seat for the hamza with fatha. Ah. So tara'asa, tara'a, tara'asa, tara'asa. Okay. So this one is aha. Now this one is tricky. So we have dhamma and we have kasra. In our paradigm, who is stronger? Kasra is stronger than fatha, than dhamma, sorry. So it's the i, i. So it chose the seat of the ya, which when it's joined on both sides. So it's su'ila, su'ila, su'ila. Su'ila here is the passive voice from the verb to ask. He was asked. The doer of the verb is not known. Su'ila. So now we're going to recap or put the whole these rules we've made into kind of actual text that you can read. So what we say here, while the seat of hamza is not pronounced, it does indicate the nature of adjacent vowels. We will see in a bit. While hamza can have a seat, it can also be written on the line, and we call it aloof, basically. In the next slide, we will discuss the situation where the hamza is written on the line. So now we will kind of disconnect from this part here, and we're going to jump to a part where the hamza does not take a seat. The hamza is written on the line in the following cases. Case number 1, at the end of a word. And there is an exception, there is a condition, when it follows a consonant that has a sukun or a long vowel. Okay, let's break down this sentence. At the end of a word, so it has to be final, right? and it follows a consonant that has sukun, basically sukun, or a long vowel. Okay, let's take this word here, su. Su, when I write it, and I want to be very, very pedantic. Oops, sorry. Why I cannot write it? So this is the word su, right? Now, if I want to be very pedantic, we always said that this waw is not the vowel, but it's an indicator of a long vowel. So if you look at very, very pedantic Arabic texts, like basically Arabic texts that deal with phonetics, you would see a sukun over the waw. Because this waw does not have a function. This waw, the only function of waw, like phonetic function, sorry, the only function of this waw is orthographical, is basically writing to indicate that this dhamma here is long, not short. Su, su. Now, this example said at the end when it follows a consonant that has a sukun or a long vowel. Either this sukun comes from the nature of the naturally in the world or in the word, or it is a long vowel because the long vowel is technically a letter that has sukun. So in these cases, in this case exactly, the hamza is written on the line, and we will see here. Let's look at fa. Fa here is basically a long vowel alif, right? A long vowel kasra. Sorry, a long vowel fatha. Sorry. So it's fa, fa. But the hamza has dhamma. But the thing is, we don't apply the rules we've learned previously because this is the end of the word. Before, these rules were uh, in the middle of a word. So these are basically a different ballpark. This is middle of the word, and this is end of the word. End of the word. End of a word. So uh, we don't look at the power or the strength of the vowels, but we see the moment we see a long vowel and the hamza is final, we know that it is going to end up on the line. Because if we look closely, this alif has a sukun, so basically that eliminates it from being pronounced. It's only to indicate that the fa is a long vowel. Let's look here. Maji'un. So this meme has fatha, this jim has kasra, and this kasra is basically a long vowel noted by the ye. So the ye here has a sukun. And there's a hamza that came after it. So the hamza has to be written on the line. Again, let's look at this case. The b has fatha, the ta has kasra. So it's ba'ti, 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 because the kasra here is a long vowel noted by the ya. I usually do not write these kasras because it's a long vowel, but here just to emphasize that it's a long vowel, and the ya has a sukun, and the hamza came after a letter that has sukun or a long vowel, so it's written on the line. And of course, bati'in, bati'in. Let's not forget the tanween. Tanween kasra. Su'un. You've already read that. Let's look at this one. Mim fatha. The sin has nothing, but it's a long vowel, and it came, and a hamza came after, so it's masa, masa, masa. Why I did put sukun here? Because it's a speech final. We use the pausal form. I can put masa in or masa on. All works. But if I am pausing, I would just use sukun. I would say masa, fil masa. Can work. So here the dal has a fatha because it's a long vowel alif. So it's da'u. Ba'un, same concept. Ba, and the kasra here is long vowel. Why? Because I have a ye, and this ye has sukun. Hamza came after, so it's on the line. Juz. Now, this one is not a long vowel. This sukun is basically inherent in the name, in the noun itself. It's not a long vowel. The dhamma here is a short vowel dhamma, and the z is a sakin. And there's a hamza that came after a letter or a consonant that has sukun, so it's written on the line. So we call it juz, juz'un, juz'un, juz'un. Again here, the kasra is not a long vowel because the ba has a sukun. It's not a ya. You know, it's another consonant that has sukun. So it's basically عبء 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 burden. قاف, remember there قاف causes the fatha to be velarized. ق. So قاي قاي قاي. This yeah is not a vowel. This yeah is a consonant. Basically because there's a fatha here. There's not a kasra. A fatha here, so it's قي قيء قي قيء or قيء. There's a dhamma. Here also the waw is a not a vowel. The vowel, the waw is a sakin, is a consonant that has a sukoon. And per the rule, if there's a sukoon, we write it on the line. So no, 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 no. Okay, so this one, all this is discussing the hamza when it's on the line, not in the middle of a word. So now there's another condition where it can be in the middle of a word, but it's written on the line. But this is a very specific case, and if you notice, there are two words that are in gray. I'll get to them when we get to them. In the middle of a word, there is this specific case where it's after a waw, or whether representing a long vowel or a consonant, or between two alif. So, what does this mean? Let's look at this example. This word, ij, of course, there's a hamza with kasra, but my font is kind of messed up. So it's ij, ij, ij. This is ra, ij, ra. But the problem is that this word is a feminine plural, and the feminine plural ends with at. Okay, so it causes an alif to be here, and the alif of the long vowel is here, and there's a hamza in between. The hamza cannot be on an alif. That is never going to happen in Arabic. Never. So, but if you look at it, this hamza here also has fatha, and this is also where it comes from, the suffix from the feminine plural is also an indicator of a long vowel, because if I pronounce it, it's ijra'at, ijra'at, ijra'at. So between two alifs, I cannot put a hamza on an alif, or this hamza cannot jump on any of these alifs, because these alifs serve a purpose. And the purpose of these alifs is noting the long vowels, and they cannot be seats. Remember, if there's a seat of an alif, ignore it. But these alifs we cannot ignore. These alifs note that the fatha before them is a long vowel. If I ignore them, then it's a normal fatha. It's going to be a different word, different pronunciation. Again, let's look here. This one is nu-bu. There's a dhamma on the noon, and there is a dhamma on the b, and it's a long vowel dhamma because of the waw. So it's nubu, nubu. But the hamza here came after a waw sukun, and the hamza has a fatha that notes a long vowel fatha, a long vowel a, noted by the alif. So I would say nubu'at, nubu'at, prophecies. This one is, let's look at the meme. The meme has a fatha. The waw, of course, is a consonant. It's not an indicator of a vowel, because the meme has a fatha. It doesn't have a dhamma. So it's maw, maw. But again, we said after waw, whether representing a long vowel or a consonant, it doesn't matter. So maw, oo, oo. This dhamma is represented as a long vowel by this waw. Maw'udat. Remember, the feminine plural ends with at all the time. This one here is muru, muru, because the waw here denotes a long vowel dhamma. Muru at, muru at. This one is also sakin. right? So far, is it good or did I lose you? Okay, if there's no complaints, I mean, we should continue. Okay, so this one here, let's look at this one again. Let's analyze it. The ye has a fatha, so it's ya, ya. The sin has nothing, but it's followed by a wow, so I know it's a long vowel u. So it's yasu, yasu. And if it's an indicator of a long vowel, it has sukun. And the hamza has dhamma, which is a long vowel noted by the wow after. Yasu'un, yasu'un, yasu'un. Now, this is where some controversy happens. If we're going to stick, now the controversy happens between two parts, between two teams. The classical Arabic grammarians, as in those who want to continue using the classical Arabic orthographical convention, and the modern Arabic grammarians who want to update the orthographic convention of Arabic. So this is where the controversy happens. So this is in gray because of reasons. If you go to the classical people, which is the school of thought I usually follow, they will tell you that because the rule we have learned from our forefathers, from our ancestors, and from their ancestors is if the hamza comes after a waw with sukun, it is written on on the line. We don't write it on a seat. But the modernist people say like no, but the hamza here has a fatha, and fatha is stronger than sukun, so we write it like this: taw a man. And now you know why I kind of did all the introduction because of these two words. Because if I did not do the introduction, this will make your brain pop 1 million questions. So again, there's two teams. We have two teams in Arabic. I mean, since ages, since the inception of Arabic, there have always been two teams who fight over some sort of grammar or some sort of orthography, or whatever. But in this particular condition, the teams are either the classicals, who usually follow the rules as is with no change, or the reformists, who want us to follow the easy route of writing Hamza, which is okay, it takes the vowel, or it takes the seat of the vowel that is strongest and appropriate. So, and the same case happens here. Okay, I didn't finish this one. So it's the ta has a fatha, the waw has sukun. So okay, by our rule, the alif, the hamza has to be on the line, but the hamza has fatha. So it's taw'a, 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 taw'aman. The meme here has a fatha, long vowel fatha because of the alif. Taw'aman, it means two twins, basically, or twins. Because usually twins are two. So here is the same thing. The meme has a dhamma, and this dhamma is a long vowel, is mu, and the re has a long vowel dhamma noted by the waw, but so this waw is sakin because it has a sukun because it's an indicator of the long vowel dhamma, but the hamza came after as a waw that has a sukun, and the hamza itself has a fatha. But the reformist will say that we can write it as muru'atihi or muru'atahu. This is the reformist. Now, which one to follow? This is up to you. But if you open a recent Arabic grammar book written or like published in Egypt, most likely you're going to find this one. If you open a grammar book that is written like in the 50s, 60s, 40s, most likely you're going to find this. Are they both correct? It depends who you're asking. If you ask someone who's a reformist, they will tell you yes. If you ask a classical, they will tell you no. So it's up to you. I usually follow the classical. I write it like this. Again, here we'll This is our last word before we pause for a second for any questions. I think we have like one more slide where we kind of I hope it's one more slide. No, we have two more slides. So yeah, let's hope. So this last one is إحصاء. I. Again, my font is kind of messed up, so it's a hamza with kasra. So إح إح صا صا. There's a long vowel fatha. A. إحصاءات between two alifs, and this cannot happen. Oops, wait. This alif here and here, these cannot happen. So it has to go on the line. But the only conflict is between these two. But all those are kind of accepted. Okay, so let's jump to the next one. So far, any questions? No questions. Okay. If you look at the shape of Hamza, okay, it resembles Ain. Uh, yeah, without the belly. It's just the head of Ain. Yeah. Now this is like a discussion outside the scope of writing the Hamza. Yeah, the sound is slightly different, but some people say that the Ain and are from the same area, so they kind of wrote it according to their phonetic location. They're both very, very deep glottal sounds. Yeah. So the Hamza, we continue with the Hamza in the middle of the word. So uh, we have finished with the Hamza written on the line. Okay. We've learned that written in at the on the line, there are two conditions. Either it has to be at the end of a word, one, and it follows a consonant that has a sukun or a long vowel. This is at the end of a word. And in Arabic, we call this al-hamza al-mutatarrifa. Mutatarrifa comes from the word taraf, is at the edge. Al-hamza. Okay. Al-hamza al-mutatarrifa. I'm not very happy about the way I wrote mutatarrifa. Not happy about that too. Okay, this is better. Okay. And this one, of course, it's the middle, so we call it al-hamza al-mutawassita. Okay, the middle hamza. So now we're going to discuss when we write hamza, not on the line, but hamza on the seat. So hamza can be written on any of the seat. So it's basically the ya, full ya at the end of the word, or basically at the cojoint, and the waw as in, and the alif like this or like this according to its haraka or according to its vowel. So now remember, the first one, I don't want you to mix the end of a word of the hamza on the line and the end of a word of seated hamza. This is a big, like a big kind of distinction that they have to make. So at the end of a word, the hamza takes a seat, right? So what determines the seat? Earlier when we discussed that the preceding vowel from the clues I was trying to give you here, the preceding vowel decides the seat. And what vowel has homogeneous vowels? So the fatha is homogeneous with the alif, as in this word, mabda. It's at the end of a word, but it has a seat, right? And the dhamma, the homogeneous vowel of the dhamma is waw. So it's bu, bu. Bu is the pupil of the eye, basically the black part of the eye is called bu. And kasra, I don't know why I put tanween here, it's kasra. And it resembles the ya, as in the word shati. Remember, it's at the end of a word of a seated hamza. Like all these words do not have hamza on the line. The hamza is on a seat. It has to rest. Now let's look at basically these examples. These examples, if we look here, we see that the ba here has a fatha because it's a long vowel fatha, of course, because of the ba of the alif, noting it's a long vowel. And the dal has a kasra. But at the end of a word, there's the hamza. So what determines the seat is the kasra here, and the seat will become a ya that at the end of a word. So it's badi, badi, the starter of things, basically. Here, we've seen that previously. The lam has a dhamma, the waw has a sukun. So the previous vowel determines the seat. It's the waw. Lu'lu', pearl. This one here, the noon fatha, ba fatha, and of course, please, this is not a long vowel because the hamza here is on a seat. The long vowel of this word is the sukun of the hamza. Oh, sorry, not the long vowel, the third vowel of the word. So it's naba, naba, naba. It's not naba, it's naba. And bada, ba, da, fatha. It takes an alif on the seat. Right? So it's bada, started. This one here is a bit long, but it's fixable. It's tawa. The waw here is a long vowel a. So it's tawa, to, 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 dhamma. It's a short vowel dhamma, not a long one. And tawatu, tawatu. Because of the dhamma, the seat of the hamza has become a waw. Here, the seat of the hamza is alif. Why? Because the preceding vowel of the hamza is a fatha on the lam. It's mala, mala, mala. Mala means masses of people, basically the masses. Mala'u min nas. So the ta is basically ta. It's a fatha because of the long vowel fatha of the alif. And the ra has kasra. So kasra, the homogeneous letter for the kasra is the ye, and hamza is seated upon it. So it's tari', tari'. Here the hamza has a seat alif, and let's find why. Because the alif is preceded by a fatha in qara, 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 qara'a. He read, basically. Is it okay here with the end of a word? Seats with end of the word. Are we okay with this? To jump on the middle of a word. The middle of a word, remember, again, we were talking about hamza on a seat. We finished with the end of a word, and now we're going to jump at the middle of a word. So, at the middle of a word, in this position, the preceding vowel and the vowel of the hamza itself are considered. We look at both. We compare both. Who is stronger? So, and the seat is chosen according to the strength of the vowel. The vowel strength, as we said, is kasra, then dhamma, then fatha, and then sukun being the weakest, or basically has no power whatsoever. And now, let's see, if there's a kasra, given that it's strongest, instantly the seat is a ya, either final or in the middle. Let's see here. Ra, fatha, and the hamza has a kasra, right? So instantly there's a kasra, the seat is ya. There's no question, because there's nothing stronger than kasra to compare it to. Kasra is already the strongest. So it's ya. Here, dhamma and kasra. Kasra wins. It takes the seat of the ya, co-joined ya. So it's su'ila, su'ila. He was asked. Here, let's look here. The meme has a dhamma. The ta has a fatha. The fa has a long vowel fatha because of the alif. Mutafa, mutafa. And the hamza has a kasra. Instantly, without any kind of thinking, the seat is ye. Or In this case, it's basically the initial yeah. And this one is kasra instantly, so it's the middle or medial yeah shape. It's bi'ru, well. It's a well, like, you know, the well you drink water from. You reap, like, you get water from. So now, if there is no kasra, but there is a dhamma, the seat is waw. Now we eliminate, we say if the word has no kasra, but there's a dhamma, so technically dhamma is the strongest because the word has no kasra, there is no competition. So we look at here, we say that dhamma, sukun. So instantly I know that the seat is dhamma. The seat is waw. Bus. Here, this one, of course, has sukun, but there's a fatha here, and this is sukun. So this is sukun because it's an indicator. It's not an actual sukun. So we basically look at the fatha here. So it's tasa'u. Okay, there's a dhamma. Dhamma is stronger than fatha, so it's on the waw. Of course, like there's this thing. I don't want to confuse you, but instead of the lam, if there was an alif, the hamza has to be on the line, right? Because it's between two alifs. We cannot do that. So it's here. We would look at it. The meme has a fatha, the sin has a sukun, and the hamza has dhamma. So it's mas'u, mas'u. The seat has to be waw because of the dhamma is stronger than sukun. Here, the hamza has fatha and the f has dhamma. F is stronger than fatha, so it's the dhamma is stronger than fatha, so the seat is waw. I know this could be overwhelming, but the more you basically look at words and try to break them down and find the reason why the alif is written this way, the more it kind of will cement and make sense in your head. Of course, otherwise, if there is no dhamma and there is no kasra and there is fatha, the seat is alif. It's the weakest one and has no competition basically. So it's the fatha on the alif, fatha, alif, sa'ala, fatha, alif, ra'a, ra'aytu, alif. Basically, if there is no other vowel than fatha, it will take alif, given that it does not fit or does not meet the conditions where it has to be written on the line. And the condition of being written on the line here, in the middle of a word, after a waw, it's representing a long vowel or a consonant, or between two alif. Any questions? I know that I kind of went. This one is a bit heavy, but this part is very simple. They say that hamza is a full consonant. It takes tanween. So what happens if the tanween happens at the end of a word? Let's see. Tanween after hamza. Remember, as we said, two alif cannot normally occur in succession. As in, we cannot have alif and then alif hamza. Basically, this cannot happen. Or two alifs in a word. That's impossible. Does not happen in Arabic. And if it happens, we have a way to get rid of it. Two alifs do not normally occur in succession. Therefore, if a word with a word final hamza on or after alif. Okay, now I want you to pay really, really close attention here. This is the last stretch. Don't fail on me now. So the word with the word final hamza on or after alif receives tanween, accusative nunation. The alif of the nunation will be omitted. Okay, now we have to go and refresh our memories about something. We said that if we have a word that has tanween fatha, it's like kitab, and if I make it tanween fatha, so I would say kitaban. There's an alif that has to be added here, right? It's just to denote that it's tanween fatha, kitaban. Now, what it says here, that if the word with a word final hamza on or after alif receives accusative nonation. So what does that mean? So either if the hamza is word final on an alif, like this, or after an alif, the alif of the nunation, I'm going to write it in gray, will not be written. Is this unclear? It's basically what it says. If I have a word and this word ends with hamza, and this hamza either occurs on an alif because of the natural seat here, why is the hamza on a seat? Because naba, the ba here has a fatha, so it shows we put the alif on we put the hamza on an alif because it's the appropriate seat for the fatha. Here is the same thing. Raja, the fatha is here, so the hamza on the line, because it's what? Why is the hamza on the line here? Because it's after a consonant, after an alif. Wait, let's just check back the rules on the line. At the end of a word follows a consonant that has a sukoon or a long vowel. So it's ba, raja, masa, ijra. All these are long vowels. But here, it's not a long vowel. Mabda is not a long vowel. So mabda, but it has a fatha, so the seat has to be alif. Mala, we've seen that before. The lam has a fatha, so the seat is alif. Ba, long vowel on the line. Ibtida, okay, this is a long vowel. Ibtida on the line. Otherwise, if there's a final hamza on the end of, or in the end of a word, but this what you call it, the hamza is on the line, not on an alif, or after an alif, the nunation alif is going to be added. Why? We here we need to kind of prevent the succession of alifs, but here there is no succession. One alif can actually happen. So ruz, ruz'a, ruz'an, ruz'an, ruz, and as we said, it's on the line because it's after a consonant with sukoon. That's why it's on the line. So the alif of nunation or the alif of tanween is going to be written as normal. But if it's on an alif or after an alif, we cannot put the alif tanween. The tanween would just be written on the hamza without an extra alif. So, oh, lesson 7. Okay. We're done with this for now. But I know it's the last 3 slides have a lot of information that need to be digested, need to be kind of read carefully, scrutinized. The words have to be like, if you get the PDF later on, you need to zoom on the words and see what happened and refer to the rules and try to compare until it becomes like, second nature to you. And if you do it 10 times, 20 times, it will start making sense. And once it makes sense, it's just a matter of just practicing it. I was like, oh, this hamza is here because of that, and with that practice or that internal practice, it will become second nature. But in the same time, I am not free of guilt that I do not practice these rules. I just know them by heart and I forget them. And sometimes I get words that I misspell them because I forgot the rule. And I find myself going back to the rules to refresh my memory for about a week, and then I forget them, and the cycle continues. So I am not demanding that you become the master of Hamza spelling or the master of Hamza orthography. All this is just basically to prepare you later on to start reading Arabic without voweling, because these are basically clues to the adjacent vowels. Because if you know that the hamza on the line is either followed by a long vowel or a letter with sukoon, you know one of the vowels without writing them. And if you know one of the vowels, you basically know a part of how to pronounce this language or how to pronounce this word. And the more you do this, the more vocabulary you will just gather, and then you'll be able to basically read without knowing the harakat or the vowels. So all this, I could have told you like, yeah, you know, guys, the hamza can be written like this, can be written on the waw, on and goodbye. Like you just basically figure it out. The hamza sounds like e, and you're done. Good luck. But you don't. You will have a lot of questions. You're going to be confused with so many questions and things that do not make sense to you. And this is the purpose of just overloading you with this information for now. I know this is not an absolute beginner topic, but it is, in my opinion. uh, Hamza is an essential part of reading Arabic and writing it if you're practicing writing. And if you want to actually read proper Arabic, you'll have to know these rules. Uh, Today, we're going to conclude our class. It's a bit heavy. The recording is going to be uploaded in a few hours, in a couple of hours. This PDF is going to be uploaded in the lessons. Um, yes, Luna. Wait. Hamza comes on the line if the previous sound of fatha vowel, like we can't use the alif for seed because we need it to sound, so we write it on line instead. Exactly. Now let's see here. You're talking about Hamza on the line, right? So Hamza on the line. This is the part where Hamza on the line. You say at the end of a word or in the middle of a word. So in the middle of a word after a wow, whether it's a it's representing a long vowel or a consonant. This is the in the middle of of the word, or between two alif. But in the wait, I have actually to kind of erase this because it's looking very ugly, and I might just use this in the middle of a word or end of a word. Okay. So in the end of a word, you're correct. This is the use case Luna actually typed is the use case if at the end of a word. Why? After a consonant that has a sukun or a long vowel. Because here, this long vowel, let's look at ba. Let's look at ba. Ba, there's a kasra, there's a sorry, a fatha, there's a fatha, and there is a sukun. And this alif here, I'm going to put red color. So this alif here, basically, it serves a function. The function is to note the reader or to tell the reader that listen up. This fatha here is a long vowel. Do not pronounce it as ba. It's ba. So this alif cannot be a seat for the hamza because it serves a purpose to indicate the fatha is a long vowel. If it was a seat, then this fatha is going to sound like a short one, and it's a different word. Basically, if the fatha, if I put the hamza on the alif like this, I would pronounce this ba, 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 compared to ba, ba. This is why I have to put it on the line. And of course, as we've seen before, if the hamza has a fatha even, I cannot put it in alif because in Arabic orthography, two alifs cannot come after each other, cannot come in succession. So this is like a grand rule in Arabic orthography. We cannot break. And if we were to break it, we would do it here. Right? Like ihsa'at. We could just put it here. You know, it become two alif next to each other, but that's forbidden in Arabic orthography or Arabic writing. So, Luna, is the question clear? By the way, we don't need the alif sound. We need its power of indication that the fatha sound is long, but the alif itself does not have a sound. It's just, we lend it, we use it as a sign to tell the reader that the alif here is a long vowel, not a short one. So, any questions? Any final questions before we conclude our class for this week? You can raise your hands to say your class, you say your questions in voice, or you can type them in discussion. Or later on, if you think of a question, you can just ask it in the Arabic beginner channel or in the forums if you can post there. Okay, Luna is typing a question. I think I understood the full capacity of how much I could. I mean, I won't blame you if you missed a lot of the parts or you phased out in the middle of it. But there's a recording. It's going to be up and you can watch it. You can ask me, you can tag me and ask me like, can you do the middle word on the line Hamza again? Can you do the end of a word Hamza again? And I would kind of, if people just do not understand it very well, I might actually just write a small quick recap, basically like a cheat sheet, and people can just like always refer to it instead of referring to to these slides. Maybe that would be more helpful. So, any further questions? Uh, no, you don't remember these rules, as in, like, no one would ask you about these rules. You might, if you were in a test, of course, but that's like in a pure academic reason, like in a pure academic setting. But like if you're writing a normal thing, yes, people may actually mistake you, like, kind of punish you for writing a word wrong. But I can tell you right now, half of the natives in this server, if you do a Hamza test, a lot of them would fail it. But that does not mean that you have to slack and not know these rules. You have to know these rules if you want to write and read proper Arabic. And of course, like if you put me in a Hamza test, I might actually lose some marks. I'm not gonna get a full mark because we took Hamza for granted. Not wrong, like wrong or right is a big word, but like basically, yeah, but basically to also prepare you how to read without vowels, because that's my main objective of this course in the end, not just know the alphabet. You can just open a children's song and you can just hear all the alphabet in a song and boom, you're done. But how to read without vowels? Now you already know that if I say a wow or like an alif without the haraka before it written, that's 99% it's a long vowel. So you got one of the clues down, and then now the hamza comes in, you know, and you know that one of the rules that no sukoons can come to each other, so that's also like a clue. So yeah, I mean, because technically 99% of the all of the content of Arabic is written in without harakat, so it's a very challenging endeavor for learners, uh, and like only the very important texts are written with harakat, like Quran or the Bible, because you know people have to read it correctly without any mistakes. But I'm not going to let a beginner read Quran to kind of learn Arabic because Quran is like basically the end game, not the not a practice material. So far, I any other questions that relate to today's lesson? Not the Hamza, but the whole thing. The letter Ha, the letter Ha. I would guess not then. Oh, Hancho. Yes. Sorry. Yes, Hancho. Hello. I'll post it. Yeah, I'll post it after the class and the discussion. Yeah. Welcome. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Yeah, welcome aboard. You're most welcome. Uh, yeah. I will post it like after we conclude our class. I will post everything, the PDF that we've done all the scribbles on, and the video will be up in a couple of hours if my internet allows it. I mean, I hope it does. So, yeah. Thank you, Mighty Alex. Thank you. Well, have fun and good luck. Anyways, everyone, thank you everyone for joining this class. I know it has been heavy, but I hope you've learned something. If you have any questions, please do not feel ashamed or scared or embarrassed to ask them. We're all here to help and teach from each other. And I'll hopefully see you next week. Probably next week we'll be done with the alphabet.